Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Uh,
Tati.
okay, we're
Hi.
here. Hello, hello. So I believe we can go ahead and start. So first of all, I want to say hello to everyone who's joining. My name is Thais. I'm the product manager for Strucsoft. And we also have here on the Great Tech side, Hannah. She's a solution specialist. And today we actually have two super important guests. We have the pleasure here to welcome Adam and Anand from DBC, which is short for Digital Building Computer Components. Sorry. And so DBC, it's been a reference in the prefab industry, and they have been using Revit and Strucsoft for quite some time now. So they are really power users. So welcome, Adam and Anand. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Good to be here. Hi.
Awesome. And before we start, everyone, if you have any questions, we have a chat, so feel free to enter your questions in the chat and we'll get back to those questions at the end of the session. Okay? Perfect. So to start things off, Adam and Anand, could you guys tell us a little bit more about yourselves and your roles at DBC?
Yeah, I guess I could start. I'm Adam Jones. I am the VDC lead over at Digital Building Components. So I basically run our modeling team that specializes in digital framing. We produce, and oversee, our shop drawings and stuff that gets sent out to our fabrication and our install teams.
Thanks, Adam. I'm Anand Kere. I'm a VDC engineer here at Digital Building Components. I've been here since like 7.5 years for now. Uh, yeah, I have worked on multiple projects, used them with good to meet you guys.
Awesome. And for maybe someone who might not know DBC as well, how would you describe what makes your company unique in the construction industry?
So for us, what makes us unique is because we're in the prefab mode, which is kind of newer to the industry, and it's becoming more of a streamlined thing. But what makes us really unique is that we really get it together on the forefront of projects. So we do all of our coordination and we get everything dialed in before we ever even enter our own fabrication. Um, and so what makes us overall, what makes us kind of trendsetters is that we are working with design teams and engineers and general contractors on the forefront of projects. So really working and integrating with the design side. We enter a trade coordination where we end up partnering with other trades on making sure that we're not going to have any clashes or issues that might hinder the on-site construction. So we do everything off-site and off-site facility. And I think we didn't mention it, but we specialize in prefab exterior panels. So the facades and everything for the building. We do everything from eaves to we have IMP, and we do metal panels and set windows. And so we do a lot. We have a lot of variation in the different product types that we are able to put out there. And we are a full turnkey process. So from design all the way to rolling out our own material and getting the panel set in place and everything finished and dried in, getting projects dried in sooner. So I think that covers that one. I hope.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. And would you say, like, in your opinion, what's the biggest advantage of using a prefab construction methods instead of the traditional methods?
Uh,
Yeah, so with the prefab, I think the biggest thing is we can control the quality of the product within a controlled environment. So everything that goes out, we have our hands on into it, into the details, figuring out things. into very minute details. We have control over everything. Uh, the biggest thing is like a schedule saving. A lot of the projects right now are very fast paced. So schedule savings is the biggest thing that we can achieve with the prefab. Uh, Other thing is like we have projects at very remote locations where you're not able to find laborers or any other facilities. So once we get into the prefab, that gives us opportunity to serve the projects that are remote in the location or any regions which are higher labor market. So that's basically when prefab comes in and then helps these kind of projects to be in the schedule, be in the budget, and yeah, with the prefab, you resolve a lot of issues way earlier than what you could encounter in the job site. So
And what would you guys say is like the biggest challenge in construction in general that prefab will help solve?
Well, one of the big things, like, and kind of to touch on its point there, is speed. We're getting more and more requests, especially with the advanced tech centers, where it's there is a need for speed, and there's a need to get things rolling. And so we really get the benefit by we have a controlled environment where we build, but then when we're building our panels, they're still digging trenches, digging out, digging for form, digging and getting everything ready for their foundations and their footings and getting all that going out on site. And so while they're working on that, we are actively building our panels. So then that way, once they are ready and they have steel up, we're basically setting panels right behind them, which is really advantageous for the advanced tech and medical centers where they want to get their building stride in as quickly as possible because they have a lot of expensive equipment that needs to be moved into the building, needs to be protected. And so with our prefab, we kind of give that opportunity there to help those guys out.
Nice. And do you guys, so you work a lot in the big projects, right? Do you also do smaller projects or are you usually more focused on commercial or bigger projects?
So right now we are basically surveying like four major industries: advanced tech, healthcare, hospitality, and commercials. These are
Hmm.
our main focus projects right now.
Okay, cool. Before we jump into the more technical stuff, do you guys have anything else you would like to share about DBC in general? All good?
I think one of the big things too with just to mention about this is that with the product and the way that with our process and utilizing Revit and Strucsoft, that integration and the information that we're able to pull out and share with teams is something like for like traditional construction that you don't typically have, that we're able to provide to clients, and we're able to integrate. Maybe I'm getting a little ahead, but we're able to integrate with other platforms like Autodesk and be able to create a full system and a full process within our own stuff, which really helps make sure that we track on schedules, time with our timing. Again, the quality piece, because we're building out of facilities and warehouses, that we have a controlled environment where we're building, in which on site conditions you're not getting that. We also reduce a significant amount of waste because we're able to take the model files and able to create CNC files, which then we can feed roll formers, allowing us to get studs exactly to length and being able to essentially eliminate any manual cutting by the field team or the fabrication team. So we clean up waste not only within our own shop and our own facility by that, but we also on job sites we take up less space because then you're not having to worry about things like having to get scaffold in. Or we with our guys and the way that they set panels, they set them from the inside of the building. So you're really reducing the footprint that this scope would end up taking up, and it's been very beneficial, particularly on jobs too, where you might be in tight corridors or tight spaces. So we have a good way of finding solutions for different conditions that may not that your typical construction may not be able to accommodate.
Yeah, for sure. And so going into the more technical things, and you already mentioned a little bit about it, but can you walk us through more in detail how technologies like Revit and Strucsoft fits in your day-to-day process?
Yeah, so we, being a prefab company, we heavily rely on the technology, like starting from pre-con to install, like all those stages. All the departments uses technology very heavy. So starting from the design phase, it's all Revit based, model based environment. Uh, Going into the framing side, we rely on the sets of metal and the elements that are provided to us in our uh, uh, shop drawing. So there we rely on the technology. Then once we go into the production, our production facility uses the shop tickets. That's also a piece of set of product. So once we go in there are different things like currently we are running ACG as which is helping our shops as well as our install team. So uh, that's a big piece, and that's a big innovation and technology that we are leveraging, and we are also figuring it out our different ways uh, to use it. Another thing, like when once we get into the design model more into the detail, it's completely model-based environment. We have different entities bundled up together into one model where we look for different clashes. So that's a big piece of technology, I would say, that helps us resolve issues ahead of time and help the install team uh, to get going smoothly. Also, one of the things is that there's due to this, we can engage early in the projects, way ahead uh, where that we can figure out things in details, and we can value engineering things and work on the cost and budget savings. So this is a big piece for us.
Okay. And if you think about it, it will also help collaborating within your team, right? So even for maybe some stakeholders that are not directly involved in the day-to-day process, it's still easy to communicate what's going on and maybe manage everything that's happening in the project. Would that be the case too?
I kind of missed a little bit, but I think what I'm getting there is like, yeah, we integrate and we set up in a way so that everything kind of gets transferred over. So one of the nice parts is
Okay.
we work within the Autodesk. We work within the Autodesk environment. So with Revit, Strucsoft, ACC, all these tools integrate together, which is really awesome. So to Anna's point, we're able, once we get our models all complete and wrapped up, that's like phase one of our process, and then we get into generating shop tickets for fabrication. We then again we leverage the Strucsoft tool there and to print those out for us and to help us get dimensioning started and some of that. When we take those, so we take those and we end up utilizing those for our shop to fabricate off of. So they fabricate off of those shop tickets, panel tickets. There's some different names for them, and so they get that portion of it. But then we also, what we're able to do is we're able to take our Revit model within the ACC environment, and we've been leveraging what's called assets there. And so we're able to show, we're basically able to link all the information. We're able to pull in the data from Revit directly to assets, and then we're able to attach the shop tickets that we have, and we can create a sequence, and our teams down on the shop floor, they end up working off of monitors, and they see these shop tickets down there, and so they have the instructions on how to build, and then they can update statuses. They have some QC forms, and so we're getting and then it goes all the way out into the field guys where they're using it and they're checking the boxes. So we're tracking these panels we're tracking these panels all the way through the process, and we're utilizing the tools like Revit, Strucsoft, ACC, and assets, all to help funnel and push our product through its line.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting because then you have all the teams integrated, and regardless of maybe one team is specific in one particular platform, everyone can still collaborate, right? So
Yes.
that's really interesting. Yep. Cool. And moving on to like more specific to Strucsoft, what would you say are the main feature, or maybe what in general, what do you think about the usage of Strucsoft in your workflow? How does it impact your work and what you guys are trying to achieve?
Yeah, so with the Strucsoft, the main feature that we use is the wall module feature, because most of our projects are exterior skin projects where we prefabricate wall panels and with different finishes on it. So wall module feature is one of the biggest features that we use. That is really helpful for us, especially the template settings in there. We are able to configure the templates based on the engineering requirements, which are very different on each type of projects. There is another option of different markers that we have that is like really great thing for us, because we are able to configure framing. Some of the projects being in different seismic zones require different framing. With the help of Strucsoft, we can design our framing the way we want. We can configure the way we want. Again, like it's really useful tool for us. Like I've been using it since the beginning of here at DBC. It has evolved so much since I started here that the user friendliness of the tool is it's really great.
That's awesome. So on that note, we're gonna ask Hannah to do a quick demo for us. So Hannah, take it away if you want to show us a little bit of what Wanan was mentioning about the general workflow for walls and also some marker lines. So go ahead.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Thais. And thank you, Adam and Anand, for being here. And thank you, everyone who's joining us. So I will be going over a generic overview of the software first, and then I'm going to dig in a little deeper into DBC's favorite tools, okay? I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay. I just started to share my screen. I just want to check with my colleagues if my screen is showing. Yes, I can see it. Perfect, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, for those of you who are not familiar with the software, this portion is for you, okay? Where I will cover what the software is, like really generally speaking, and two of our very well-known features, specifically template maps and quick create. First of all, our tool is called Strucsoft. It was previously known as MWF. It's a Revit add-on or a Revit plugin. That's why you can see over here that I'm in the Revit environment. This tool is dedicated for framing, and we're going to be framing a few walls live in this presentation, okay? First of all, I'm just sharing one of our demo models, and you can see here what you can expect to achieve with Strucsoft, just as an example for a few framed walls. And over here, I've left a few walls empty so that we can frame them live, okay? So keeping in mind that Strucsoft is a Revit add-on, we do need a Revit model before we can start framing. These Revit elements, like the walls that I'm selecting right now, will act as hosts for the framing that we see over here. So this framing is going to be embedded within the walls, okay? That's why you'll notice that I added a little bit of transparency to the walls of my model. First of all, when you install the software, you can see that you'll have an additional menu. You're going to have this additional ribbon within your Revit ribbons. You'll notice that it's color-coded. And if I go to the first button over here and I switch to the wall module, this is the module that DBC are using. So this is the module that we're going to focus on today. You'll notice that the menu expands in blue, and these are the features that you can use for walls. I'm using Revit 2025 for today, but we do support other Revit years as well. First of all, I will just cover really quick how we prep the model. You're going to need some Revit elements. In this case, we're going to need some walls. Doors and windows have to be added before, but don't worry about changes. The software, you can make changes and regenerate your panel, and this will accommodate your changes. Before we start, I just want to highlight that I have a few wall types already prepared for this presentation. So when I created my model, I gave my wall type specific naming. This is going to be very useful later when I add create template maps. This specific wall is meant to be for the ground floor, and I would like to frame it with a template that looks like this. This wall over here is for the first floor, and I would like to frame it with a template that looks like this, and etc. This is an exterior wall for the upper floors. It's meant to look like this, and I also have interior walls in my project. So just like any project, we have multiple wall types. This brings us to the topic of templates. So what is a template? Templates are basically the characteristics of a certain panel, including specific features, family types that you might be using, opening details, and other features as well, like adding horizontals and etc. The way it works is that you start with an out-of-the-box template, and then you customize it and you create your own. You start by creating the Revit wall. You go to the Create tool. You click on Create. You choose a template out of the box. I have my own templates created already. I will use these later. I have one for the ground floor, first floor, etc. But for now, I'm just going to show you a default out-of-the-box option. I have something called light gauge and wood and something that I had just pre-created. But you'll receive, if you're using Strucsoft Suite, you'll also receive wood templates as well. I'll be using light gauge for now. I'll set it as active, hit close, and I'll hit create. And this will create my first panel. From there, I can start to modify this panel in order to create my template. I'll receive this dialog box where I can make changes, but for now, I'll skip that and say OK. Perfect. So this is our first panel. It's a very simple panel. There's nothing fancy here, but then I can start to add more and more features, which brings us to the topic of the properties preview menu that we're very, very excited about because we have improved this feature and it's looking really great. So first of all, in the panel settings, you can make changes to your studs. So like the horizontals can be changed, the vertical, bottom, top. You can add your own Revit families. You do receive these types out of the box. If you go to the view, here you can see that we have available features, and here you can see a preview of your panel. You can start to add features. For example, I'll just do something easy for today. Like, for example, I'll add horizontals just to show you a feature, one of my personal favorite features. So I'm just going to add horizontals from the beginning to the end of the panel. I will choose the family that I want to use. I just picked something like this. The justification. You can split the horizontals. You can add a stagger. You can also insert clips and add punches, but I'll keep it very simple for now. You can add the number of horizontals. I'll click on add, and then I'll click on apply. And here you'll start to see the changes happening in your panel in this preview over here. And then when you're done adding your changes, you can go to template, save as, and you can save it in a folder and call it whatever name you like and use it over and over again. Let me just call this webinar 2, for example. and then you'll find it in your folder and use it over and over again. And here you're going to see the end result. So I've already pre-created some templates. Let's try them now, but now we're going to talk about another very important feature, which is the quick create and the template map. Quick create is the feature that automates this process so that you don't have to panel one wall at a time. The quick create tool is used in conjunction with the template map that I'm going to show you right now. You can create multiple template maps, as you can see over here. I already created several, but I'm going to use this one right now. This basically tells the software what to do when it finds a certain Revit wall type. So you can see here that I have different wall types that I can choose from this dropdown. So I'm basically choosing Revit wall types, and I'm matching them with Strucsoft templates that I have pre-created. And I need to make sure that this is highlighted in blue. I hit OK. And now I'm ready to frame my panels. To frame my panels, I need to make a selection, just like you can see over here, just a regular Revit tool that you use every day. I've selected 5 walls. I'm going to frame them all at the same time, and they're going to look different. Each one of them has a different template. I'll hit the Quick Create tool. What's happening now is that the software is going to start framing. It's actually matching wall types with templates, just like we specified. The time frame will vary. It will depend on how many panels you're framing at the same time, how big is the project, how complex are your panels. Of course, it also depends on your device. So the time frame will vary. Okay, perfect. I thought it would take longer because I'm sharing my screen and in a call, but it wasn't bad. And here you can see that the software has framed these panels using the templates that we specified. Great, so now that we're done with the first portion of the presentation, we're going to jump into a model that was actually provided to us by the DBC team. Thank you so much for this wonderful model. So here I'm using a model that was provided by the DBC team, showcasing some of the features that they like to use. And we're going to focus on a few specific features that the team has mentioned that they really like. One of them being marker lines. To do that, I will start with an empty panel. Like I'll create a wall first. So I'll go to just a Revit copy. And I'm just going to make this wall over here. Let's just isolate it. I hit BX on my keyboard. So this is a wall type. You can see that DBC have their own wall types. I will start by using create, and I'm going to choose a template, something like this. I'll set as active, close, and create. I just created a panel, and as you can see, their template already has some very neat features. It has their own family types, and it also has, for example, here they're using an anchor bolt, which is another tool that you can find in this software. I'm going to be talking about marker lines, which is a very popular tool, which will allow you to create different things. In their case, DBC like to use marker lines for their CRC channels and punches. To add a marker line, you select a member of the panel, you go to markers, and you click on Create Marker Lines. From this dialog box, I'm going to choose horizontal lines. Regular spacing, I'm going to use 3 lines. That's all I need for right now. You specify the spacing and the first offset. You can, by the way, add the features right away. You can add a whole series, blocking, and other configurations. I'm not going to add them now. I'm going to come back to them later. Okay, I'm going to say okay, because I wanted to show you how the marker lines look like before you add any features. They look like regular Revit lines. They are, but in the back end, they're also coated with Strucsoft features. And to add a feature, I need to select this line. I'll go to the properties. And here I'm going to choose blocking. I'll add blocking first. I will use this one right here. I will say OK. You won't see anything until you regenerate the panel. And there it is. So this is the CRC channel. What I can also do is add another feature as well as that feature. I just made a selection. I'll use the filter tool just to select that line again. And I'm going to add another feature, going to the properties, and I'm going to add a punch basically. I will be using this one, and I'll say OK. I'm going to regenerate the panel. And here's the end result. The cool thing about these marker lines is that they're very, very flexible, and not just the features that you're able to use them for, but they are flexible themselves. I'm going to move these lines to specific locations like this. I'm actually going to keep one a little bit extended on purpose just so that you can see what you could do. You have the option to extend it or not. And I'm going to add these features again using properties. I'll use the same blocking. I'll use this one and the same whole series. I'll say OK. And when I regenerate, this is the end result. Sorry, I'm just going to switch maybe to my headset. I just want to check with my team. Does it sound better? Is this better? Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Okay, the last feature that I wanted to showcase is that the DBC team also like to use marker lines for their cap tracks. I'm going to show you where to find those cap tracks. You can find them in the marker manager. And if you go to wall, framing, you can see that you can add the cap track feature from over here, and you can make changes to that feature. You basically start with the out of the box one, you duplicate it and make your own. You give it your own name, its own name, and then you can use it over and over again. But this is not where you add it. This is just where you configure it. So to add this feature, you need the marker line, and you'll also need to hit properties. You can see over here that we have an option for stud pack, and you can choose it from here. I will use this one. I'm going to say OK and regenerate the panel. And this is the end result. One last feature, and then I'm done with this presentation. I'm just going to remove the section box. The other feature that the DBC team have mentioned to us that they like to use is our out-of-the-box box header for their openings. This can also be found in the marker manager. I'm just going to show you where to find it. So under openings, you can see here that we have multiple out-of-the-box options for your opening details. We call them markers. This is the out-of-the-box multiple build-up member system, and you can basically duplicate it, rename it, and create your own variation. And this is the one that we are using in this model. I'll say OK. To add it, you have two techniques. One technique is to add it to the opening itself. So you select the opening, you go to markers, apply opening type, add the framing type from here. You select it from the dropdown. You click on the plus, When you regenerate it, you'll see the end result. The other technique that you could use is to add it through the properties. And basically, this is how it can be added to your template through the view. And if I maximize this, you can add it through. Sorry, I'm just looking for the opening framing. You can add it from here under rules, use opening framing condition map, and apply it to all your windows from here. So that's just another technique. And that's pretty much it for me. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to hand the mic over to Thais. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Great presentation.
Thank you.
And also, just to add to what Hannah was showing, as you guys can see, we have a lot of features and a lot of ways of doing the same thing. So people can just choose what fits best for their workflow. For example, for the CRC channels, we showed the marker lines. It could also be added through horizontals, for example, but marker lines are more flexible and very easy to use. So it really depends on the workflow and what's best for each company. So we try to focus here on what DBC usually uses and what fits best for their workflow. Also on that note, Anand, I think you also mentioned that a little bit about the evolution of the software, both Strucsoft and Revit, because you guys have been using it for so long. Do you have anything to share about this? How do you feel that evolution happened, and what do you see happening in the future? How do you wish that the direction we take from now on for the industry, for the future, how do you see that being beneficial for your company?
Yeah, so since when I talked about evolution of the software, I have seen a lot of features added into the software since like last 8 years. We have like simple wall templates. Then we went ahead. We started with wall mapping. We now get to build the custom headers, which is like really nice option just in case if uh, any of the framing configuration does not is not existing in the software. You can modify that configuration and add it. So this is really a cool feature. You can customize everything. The one thing that I'm looking forward that we have already talked about in our regular check-ins is like the integration of AI, which is I know in your pipeline. That will also be really helpful to take the software to the next level. But yeah, a lot of things, the whole evolution, like how the engagement of Strucsoft team with the DBC team is going on. This is really helping us to game plan things and making sure that our needs are met.
Awesome. And before we jump into the questions and wrap up, do you guys have anything else you would like to share? What is your vision for the industry in general? What do you guys think the future looks like for prefab? Anything to share on that department?
Yeah, from my perspective, it's the initial kind of like onboarding, getting people going is hard, but as I think as people start to see the benefits of going this route and how smooth projects can go. Like right now, the big challenge that I think everyone faces is that we ask for a lot of information up front because we need everything that you would typically have 6, 9 months, a year plus down the road. We typically need that at the front end. I feel as the industry starts to adapt this approach more and it starts to become a little more common, that those sort of things will go away because we'll start getting people that are already prepared. They're going to know what's kind of needed, and so we've been trying to kind of help guide some teams that we work with that prefab and might be new. But I think there's a lot of great opportunities with prefab. Just once you get through that initial part, the rest of it goes pretty smooth because all your things are coordinated, set, and again, we have a lot of the cool benefits with less waste and safer job sites and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, it's only starting. We have a lot of room to grow for sure. Let me just check. Okay, so I'm gonna go in the chat and I'm gonna check for any questions. So let's see. Okay, Kalyan, she has a question for Adam. I'm gonna read it, okay? What challenges, if any, do you face with the interpretation of the data at the field level?
I think the big thing, like the big challenge that we go through with especially your field teams and your fabrication teams is that this is new, jumping into technology, having to open things up and do the clicks. And so what we've tried to do is simplify the process as much as possible. Or if they had a check mechanism and it was on paper, we're able to kind of digitize that for them. But that's the biggest challenge is just when people are working and people are moving, they don't want to be bogged down by filling out a bunch of things or having to extract or trying to find things. So we try to keep everything in like a one location for everybody. We try to make sure that it's simple, and easy to access. But there's always that the biggest challenge is that upfront getting them on board with it. And then once they kind of get on board and they start utilizing it, the challenges tend to go away. You actually start getting more requests of like, hey, can we get this? Or can we add this? Or that would be great if this was here. And so you start getting a little bit of a flip in perspective there. So it's a little challenging, just the initial uplift and getting them on board. But I think once you get them going and they see the benefits, the rest is pretty smooth.
Nice. What else we have here? Okay, Ashley is asking about the modular tools. If you guys use the modular tools, and if so, how do you group your load-bearing walls when the stud spacing changes as you go up in the building? To answer that question, by the way, I don't know if you guys use the modular tool, but I do know that for people who do use it, Ashley, you can usually use it by level if that's the case. So the Revit group that you're using will be sorted out by level. And in that case, you can create specific templates depending on the requirements you have for your framing as you go up in the project. What's the most efficient method of dealing with these challenges using the modular tool? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I think I answered. I don't know if DBC uses the modular tool.
We don't use the Strucsoft modular tool. We use the modular tool through Revit. And basically what we're kind of doing is we're setting up, we set those up. And so some jobs we might have some repeatability even between our panel types. And so we can utilize that. And then when we copy that up, then it can be a matter of just reassociating those up. So if you have usually when you're doing projects, you're stacking. So you're you'll just copy those ones up from ground level. You copy those up to 2. You just go through and just make a quick update in terms of what template or their panel type that they're associated with. And then it's a matter of just populating the framing into the parent panel. And then that'll get pushed into its families.
Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. That's a good workflow. Nice. And then we also have, okay, so we have a question from Matt about the marker lines, if they can be included in the template. So no, they can't. They are a tool that are meant to be used after you have the panels created. And that's why some people would like to use them too, because it's very easy to handle. You can copy paste from one panel to another, but or you can extend and it will count for the other panel as well. And you can move it very easily. And that's why anything that is saved in the template is usually you have to preset everything up. So if it's something that you constantly use the exact same way, yes, you can do it through the template. You have the same results. Like I mentioned, you could use the horizontals and whole series tool with the same purpose and save to your template. But the marker lines are more for something that should be fast and quick to edit if needed. So that's why it's outside the template.
And then I can add a little bit to that as well. Just in terms of construction, like when you're dealing with interiors, you're pretty much going to be your 2 foot, with your whole series, and it's going to be a little bit more, I guess, kind of stagnant with where everything remains. But when we get, like, we kind of specialize more in the exterior facade, so we're looking at trying to avoid hole punches at where we're going to need clip locations, or where we're going to be tying back to the building, or steel, whatever those connections points are. So with the marker lines, that gives us the flexibility to be able to shift and move those without, like, to Thais's point, without having to go back into the template, make an update. Well, does it work for this condition and maybe not for this condition? And so that flexibility within the actual project conditions that you get with it has proven most beneficial for us.
Yeah, one thing with marker line that's like really useful for us is backing, because backing is not something that applies to each panel. Some panels will have light fixtures, some won't. Some will need a handrail, some won't. So that's when the marker lines will come handy. You can use it, extend it, and the good thing is, like, you can have an inclined marker line as well, and that will give you the same results with like how a horizontal marker line will give. So that was a really cool feature.
True.
One thing that we didn't cover, but I would like to bring up, which is like really cool feature, is edit once. So like when I was talking about the evolution, that's when like this edit once comes in, and it's like really handy for us to do like quick changes. You don't have to go into the properties. You can just use the edit one tool, and it's really helpful.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's very helpful with fast editing. Yeah, good point.
It's a very popular one. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a favorite for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We have one more question for Adam. Do you think there is a great need of a digital dialogue specialist?
Well, gotta answer that. I don't know what a digital dialogue specialist is, so I guess my answer might be no. But I think it's important that when you integrate, going into prefab and being able to orchestrate it, it's like there's a lot of companies that try to pick it up from, like, hey, we're doing framing, we're doing drywall, we should be able to do this, let's go here. But and go to this prefab route, and we're going to try this, and then you start getting into, like, okay, we want to get into the model space, and how do we do that? And for me, it's really come down to having the system and the structure in place to really operate it effectively, because you can get through some easier projects maybe on the forefront, but things change as things evolve and change. So from my end, it's how are you setting up your management of it? How are you tracking these things? What are the tools that you're using in order to do that? And so I think having a specialist to kind of set up and be able to integrate these things with the team is important. Like, I wouldn't say that having someone that's just a construction person that's just going to figure it out and jump into it is probably not best. You're going to be better off with someone that, if your company is new to with this integration, by bringing on someone that does have expertise, does know how to orchestrate this, get the modeling aspect in there, and then be able to get the other connections. Now, if you're already there and you've got the process built out, and then it's just a matter of some refinement on how you do tracking and how those things go. Like I've mentioned, we utilize ACC. It's already pretty well integrated, because you can store all your files. Everything within our projects lives there, and so people are comfortable being able to jump in, but then having someone that can kind of operate that flow, I think, is important.
Yeah.
I also feel like at some level, digital building act as a prefab dialogue specialist. Like when it comes to the projects, we do educate a lot of architects and general contractors, like how we can utilize prefab into the design and into the whole process. Like we had an architect yesterday here, and we explained the whole project, how the design can be turned into a prefab friendly design. So it's just like matter of spreading the knowledge of prefab and how to accommodate prefab designs into an architect's design, or how to make it more user friendly with all the other trades involved.
Yeah. Plus one to that the education of the other parties involved within what you're doing is super important. Like I'm a big believer, if you want to be able to get something, you got to be able to give something. And so I feel the more that you can help, the other team members that you're going to be working with, or the other trade partners, or the GC, or the design folks, the more that you can educate them about your process and how things work, the better assistance you're going to get on your end. Because it can be a little bit challenging with when a team doesn't understand what that takes, how that's supposed to work. So yeah, I don't want to take up too much time here.
No, 100%. I think, well, we could stay here forever talking about it for sure.
Yeah.
But I think those are also pretty amazing points that you guys are making. It makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a struggle for everyone because, everything is so new and technology changes and evolves so fast. So it's always important to get everyone on board so everyone can understand and be on the same boat, basically. Which is no easy task, but I think you guys are doing an awesome job, and we're here to help whenever we can. Cool. So I think that's it for the questions.
I think we got one more.
We have
a
question.
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me
From
check.
Matt.
Oh, okay. Adam, have you found a need to manually modify dimensions with panel tickets?
To answer that question, yes, we do. So we get about 80% of the dimensions that we need, to 90%, somewhere in that range. And then the other dimensions that we have to go through and add are more so just like maybe it's a critical dimension, or maybe we've got a jam stud and it's hitting on the hard side of the back side of the jam stud instead of the opening side. But usually, particularly with like the framing elements, that usually comes together pretty good for us, and the work to do any of that updating is pretty minimal.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
are really heavy on the quality side, so precision needs to be top notch. So our quality inspector needs like those extra dimensioning. That's why we have to like add dimensions to the shop tickets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the Strucsoft side, I think this is also something that will evolve now that we have AI and all of those new technologies. This is a long-term goal, but I think it's gonna get easier and easier because up until this moment we had automation on our side, but sometimes for dimensioning specifically, it's not always it's gonna be 100% of what someone needs. But I think with the involvement of the tools and automation plus AI, I think we're gonna get there at some point. But so we'll see. Yes. Okay. So let me see. I think that's it, guys. Um, yeah. So that's it for the question. So first of all, I would like to thank very, very much. Thank you so much, Adam and Anand, for joining us. It was a very interesting talk. Really appreciate you guys' time. Thanks for the DBC in general. It's always a pleasure working with you guys. Thank you so much, Hannah, for the demonstration. Again, always a pleasure watching your demos. I love it. And yeah, and I think that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.